This past winter, there were more snow days than the past 10 years, and there have been worries about graduation.
I talked to the Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Dan Forey, about how they decide the snow days.
We'll talk to the bus company throughout the day, probably the evening, the early morning. A couple things that we look at and people wonder sometimes is, reality is the first pickups for some of the secondary stuff maybe as early as 6:15, 6:30. And so some of the drivers, to get started on them, they're leaving their houses to get to the buses and start by 5:30. So really we need to almost by 5:30 make a decision. Are we going to delay? Are we going to move forward with the transportation? Usually if things are questionable, we'll look at a 2-hour delay and try and see, are things going to get cleared up? And really it depends on what the forecast looks like, what are the current road conditions, what is the transportation and the bus company in those discussions looking at. And then there's a lot of discussions too with neighboring districts. What are they seeing in the areas? A lot of things move across the county or move from York to Lancaster or move up so what does that sort of look like?
Because of the Act 80-Day Amendment, there are exceptions to the 180 days of school requirement, as long as the minimum hours of school is met. I talked with the head of Student Services, Mr. Tab Musser, about school scheduling and the graduation date.
The instructional hours you're looking at the secondary level are 990 hours of instruction. At the elementary, you're looking at 900, and kindergarten half day 450. There are some options that are released to us as far as adding some additional time to the existing school day, but it is a difficult option that's going to require a little bit of restructuring for something that's very scheduled as school systems are. The Saturday option is available, but you're only allowed to go to school so many days, so you need to have some days that, you need to have days off to have it on that Saturday.
This year's school will end June 6th. As for graduation, the ceremony will be on June 4th at FNM. There will be a mandatory graduation practice for all seniors on May 31st. Next year's calendar will contain some potential weather makeup days to address future weather concerns. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Jose Liriano.